Welcome to Conversations with your host, Ron Bryant, who will engage in lively and informative dialogue with politicians, leaders, visiting celebrities, and individuals making a difference in the community fabric of Central Ohio.
On this edition of Conversations, I'll be talking to the illustrious pastor of Columbus's First Church of God, Bishop Timothy Clark. His church, a city of refuge, is where worshipers can lead meaningful and purpose-filled lives while praising the Lord. Here's my conversation with Bishop Clark.
Bishop, I just want to thank you for this opportunity to have a conversation with you. And, getting started, in your mind, what is the state of the Black church today?
First of all, let me say how good it is to be with you again.
Yes,
and
sir.
we were laughing before the show started how long we've known each other. We both had totally black hair, and now it's gray. It's what an old preacher told me. Your hair will do one of two things when you pastor. It'll either turn white or turn loose. So I think mine is doing both, which says I'm doing a lot. Mine is doing both.
I'm glad I'm close.
Yeah, so it's a joy to be with you. I have always appreciated your ministry in the city. So good to be with you.
Thank you.
The question you just raised is, I think, one of the most pertinent, powerful questions. And if you had asked me this 9 months ago, I might have a different answer. It's amazing how swiftly things change.
Don't they, though?
What with Ferguson and Cleveland and Staten Island and the various down the road near Toledo, the different incidents that have taken place in our community, the African American church has seen a re-emergence and a resurgence. And so I think in many ways, and you might know this even better because you have your ear more to the ground even than I do. I think that the Black church is rediscovering its voice and its advocacy and its leadership, simply because, like with what we used to call, here's what's funny, we used to call the 60s the modern civil rights movement.
Right.
But I think we're seeing another modern civil rights movement that is being advanced, and thankfully, the church is still a part of that and giving, I think, great leadership to it.
Now, you mentioned the modern civil rights movement. The reality of the church and its meaning to the community, is that the same now, or is it that ever evolving?
It's ever evolving, but you know that old adage, the more things change, the more they stay the same. When the president was first elected in 2008, who can believe it's going to soon be 8 years ago?
You're right.
Everyone thought that we were in a post-racial nation, matter of fact, we heard it. It's post-racial now that we have an African-American president, and it didn't take long for us to see racism is still rife, it is still real, and unfortunately, it still is systemic in many ways. And so while it's ever evolving, I guess it would debunk the theory of evolution, because the theory of evolution says it evolves to the survival of the fittest.
Right.
I think this evolves and it just keeps getting uglier and worse.
So is our community fragmented, and is that voice of the church ever more needed?
It's ever more needed, but I think our community is coalescing. And again, the issues of Ferguson, Staten Island, Cleveland, the issues of race, again, the disrespect we've seen our president being given, the issues.
Amazing.
It's amazing. It's utterly contemptible. And what bothers me more, and I know this is not what you asked me.
That's all right.
But what bothers me is that I am not hearing from the evangelical community, particularly the white evangelical community. I'm not hearing many voices rising up to say that's not right, and that's not fair, and that is not biblical. Paul tells us that we are to pray for those in authority, for kings and those in authority. Yes. We're to pray for them. We're to respect authority. Paul teaches there's no authority but that which is given by God. So the government is really ordained of God so that there might be order. Paul says, pray for those in authority that we might live and lead a quiet and peaceable life. So they're interwoven.
Excellent. You're a valued spokesperson for the African American, the Black community.
Yes, sir.
What do you attribute that to?
To be honest, longevity. I just won't go away. I say that tongue in cheek, but I think it's true. I think credibility, it comes from longevity. One of the things that I worry about with our sons and daughters is that inability to stick, stand, and stay, to find your place. Who was it that said, give me a place to stand and I will move the world? You can't be moving all over. You can't be, as my grandmother would say, hither, thither, and yon, everywhere. You have to have a place to stand. And it's from that place, at that place, in that place, that I think you make a mark. And so I've been in this city over 3 decades.
That's quite so.
That's quite, we've been here a long time.
Yes.
We're going into 40 years.
82.
It came in 82,
84.
February. There you go, February 82. And here's the thing, when I came and when you came, there were men and women who were the leaders of this community.
Yes,
they were the titans. They were the fathers and mothers of our community. The tragedy and the reality is many of them are asleep now. They've gone to be with the Lord, and now we are now the fathers and mothers, and there's another generation coming behind us.
That's right.
And we've got to groom them, raise them up.
They say, train up a child.
There you go.
Are you training up those successors for you?
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, I think that's imperative. One of my colleagues in the Chicago area dropped dead in his pulpit on Sunday morning preaching. Just celebrated his 60th birthday 2 weeks ago. And that just reminds all of us of the shortness of time, the swiftness of time, and the need to make sure you have a successor. John Maxwell, who's a leading leadership guru, says that if there's no successor, there's no success. If you are a leader and you're not grooming someone to succeed you, then you're not successful.
Excellent.
And I think the African American community, and let me say this, and I know you have a wide viewership, so better watch what I say, and the church community and the pastoral community.
The ecumenical community.
Yeah, has to realize that. I'm so proud of my friend and brother, Dr. Jerry Carter, over at Mount Period Church, who's announced his retirement, but is grooming, already identified his successor, is grooming him. That's the way you do it. That's how you do it. You shouldn't have to have church fights and church splits and calling the police. That's crazy. Build a ministry and then pass that baton to somebody else.
Since the Affordable Care Act was signed into law in 2010, 28 states plus D.C. have expanded Medicaid, and millions have gained coverage through Medicaid or CHIP. Millions of young adults have gained coverage through their parents' plan. Americans saved $9 billion because insurance companies must spend at least 80 cents of every premium dollar on health care. 9.4 million seniors and people with disabilities saved more than $15 billion on prescription drugs. Nearly $1,600 per beneficiary. Nearly 11.7 million Americans are signed up for coverage through the health insurance marketplace. The ACA has helped achieve an historic reduction in the uninsured. To date, 16.4 million uninsured people have gained health care coverage. The Affordable Care Act. 5 years of providing access to affordable, quality health coverage.
You were consecrated as bishop in 2001. The name of your organization, National Association of the Church of God. What is the belief structure of the church?
Sure.
And the
There are
organization?
two different things. The Berean Fellowship of Churches is the body that I oversee as bishop, and that is made up of churches around our nation who submit to me as their spiritual covering and or spiritual father. I was born into the Church of God Reformation movement, and I'm still a part of that. It's my roots. So much of what I am, so much of what I know, so much of what I've been taught and trained, Bible college, all of that was in institutions of the Church of God. And so I've not walked away from it, not abandoned it. Fortunately, we have enough elasticity within our fellowship
Yes, that's an excellent way to put it.
because we're non-denominational,
Yes.
that we're free to find expression and fulfill ministry. And so, yeah, I'm still tied to that, still love that movement, but also pursuing this other, again, back to successors, training, equipping another generation.
Back in the day, you were in ground zero, Central
Yeah.
City, in the hood.
Yeah.
You've moved to this edifice,
Yeah.
beautiful structure, and you're building the city of refuge.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Well, you know, and you know because you were there, you know what Wilson and Fair was like and is like. I think one of the things people don't know, and you remember this because certain people on a certain radio station really ripped me on Saturday mornings about leaving the hood,
really?
moving to the burbs. And I got tickled. I said, when did Refugee Road become the suburbs?
Really?
You know, I was like, somebody better tell me something.
So what do they say about your partner across the street?
Well, I don't know. One day he and I need to talk. But you know, what surprised me is that a lot of people didn't know why we moved. You know, when I came here in '82, it was a very small church, small membership, a building that was smaller, and we began to grow, explosively grew. We built a building, we had multiple services, and here's what started happening. We started buying houses, tearing them down,
Yes, you
and putting
did.
a parking lot here and
Yes,
a
you
little
did.
parking lot here. One day I was walking to the store and I looked at these little parking lots. We tore out 2 houses here. And I asked myself, and this is why you have to ask yourself tough questions. Who was it that said, an unexamined life is not worth living? And you have to examine yourself, ask yourself tough questions. And I asked myself, am I now hurting what I helped to heal? We help impact that community through our children's programs, our tutoring program, our feeding program, our drug program.
Total outreach effort.
Oh man, and now I had to look around and say, am I decimating the community I sought to deliver? Would I want to live, if I had a house here in this area, near East Side, NEAC, if I had a house in this area, would I want to live next to a parking lot? Would I want a parking lot on either side of me? And it was then, really, I had an epiphany. I just thought, maybe we're becoming a burden where we tried to be a blessing. And that's why we didn't move, because we were running. I mean, listen, we were growing leaps and bounds, and I didn't know if those folk would follow me. So I took a big risk of faith coming over here. But it's because I didn't want to hurt the community, and because I felt if the Lord be with us, I can do even more good.
Now you have this main edifice. Are there other areas that you're going to grow? Senior citizens home, housing, because you have a lot of land back here. You've got the Millennium School right behind you.
Right. Well, see, that's something a lot of people don't know, because I don't toot my horn a lot. We already have all of that. We have the Millennium School. We have, I don't know where you parked, but there's a structure on the east side of the east parking lot that is the Mount Carmel Hospital Health Clinic that we partnered with Mount Carmel, and they built this health clinic where right now people go in, meet with doctors and nurses. They even are equipped to do minor surgery in there. It is state-of-the-art, full service. We have already built 100+ senior housing units, as well as 50-some freestanding houses already in the back. It's all there.
So it's in the back.
Right.
Okay.
It's in the, so
right.
you don't.
You
So
from the
again,
street. Yeah.
I wasn't doing it to put up lights and cameras and welcome to Clark World. We're doing it so we can make a difference. So a lot of folks don't even know it's there. They don't know it's there. They think this is all we have. In fact, the reason we're in this building right now, which is our, as you can tell from the goal, the basketball goals, is still our gymnatorium. Why we haven't built the largest sanctuary is because we've been so focused on building things that are going to do ministry.
I was talking to Brother Gooch and said we used to play ball, and
that's right.
Dribble,
that's
you
right.
couldn't hear the ball.
Now they
was
say
feeling.
They say this carpet is just as good. I've never believed that. I grew up on hardwood.
That's
grew
right.
up on hardwood.
That's right.
Yeah.
So your television ministry.
Yeah.
You're doing like a 4-camera with a jib, and you've got it set up. It looks fantastic. The fresh word.
Yes.
Talk about the freshness
yes.
of the word.
I'm trying to keep the word fresh, but the older you get, the more likely you can get stale. And so I'm trying to make sure. I think I called it that as a reminder to myself. We're on the Word Network. The Word Network is one of the largest Christian radio stations, television stations in the world.
And started locally by a brother from Channel 10.
That's right.
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Lewis.
That's
Brother
right.
Lewis.
One of the finest guys in the world.
Yes.
I love him. He's moved on. He's not with them anymore, doing something new, and he's always going to do something. Lewis Gibbs is always going to be doing something new.
Wonderful.
But we're able to, it's seen literally around the world.
Yes, it is.
And so we get feedback, letters, prayer requests, information, prison ministry. I'm amazed at how many people in prison watch Word Network and watch our broadcasts.
More than 1 million Americans are living with HIV, but nearly 2/3 do not get the care they need to stay healthy. And transmissions from those not getting care account for 9 in 10 new HIV infections. Diagnosis and care can improve the lives of people with HIV and reduce the likelihood of transmitting the virus to others. 100 people who don't know they have HIV transmit the virus to nearly 7 new people each year. But that rate drops rapidly as people go through care. Every year, 100 people who have HIV under control through medication infect less than 1. But today, just 30% have the virus under control, and 50,000 people become newly infected each year. Improving the health of people living with HIV today could prevent the vast majority of new infections tomorrow.
I'm only 17, but I know about investing. Believe in something, buy shares in it, watch it grow. So, what if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. I could be one of the first college graduates from my family, the first philanthropist from my neighborhood. And if I'm the first, then maybe there's a second and a third. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow. My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
Yes.
What's the goal of your ministry as you move forward?
This ministry, it's what it's always been. I think that's the wonderful thing about hearing from God. The mission of our church is to make ready a people prepared for the Lord. And when you read the story of Jesus, the birth of Jesus, birth of John, the angel appears to Zechariah, John's father,
Yes.
and says, this boy is going to be great, and he will go before the Lord in the spirit and power of Elijah, turn the hearts of the fathers to the children to the fathers, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord.
Yes.
John's ministry, we say he was the forerunner of Christ, but his ministry was to get people ready for the new thing God was going to do.
Yes.
And we've always said we exist to get people ready so that, number one, they can serve God here. They can serve God here. They're saved, serve God, and then ultimately see him in peace and spend eternity with him. So through life and beyond life, we want to impact people.
The Berean ministry.
Yeah.
You just had a conference
Yeah,
a couple,
yeah,
3
in
months
October,
ago or
yeah.
so. Now you pulled that from the Greek Orthodoxy, and of course the new city I think is called Veria in northern Greece now.
Yes.
How and why the Berean?
Yeah. Well,
why not a Hebrew concept? I'd like to call myself a Levite.
Sure. Right. I'll tell you why. It's interesting you asked that. I was reading in my devotions one day, not thinking about anything in particular, and Paul is in a place where his teaching and preaching is rejected. And he is shamefully treated, literally run out of town. And the text says, and the next city he went to was a city called Berea. And it even says, and the Bereans were not like the others. They searched the scriptures to see if what Paul said was so. And the image I got, I could almost take you to the place I was sitting a summer afternoon. And I had this image of Paul being chased out of town, tired, discouraged, and he comes to Berea, and it's a place of refuge for him. It's a place of renewal.
Yes.
And so that's what I want the Berean fellowship to be. It's a place where pastors and leaders come after, we do it in the fall of the year, after a tough year and, whatever else they've been dealing with, and spend 3 days, hear some great preaching, great teaching, great fellowship, and hopefully go in the year with a bang.
Final couple questions.
Yeah.
First of all, health and fitness are a big part of your ministry.
Oh yeah.
And we used to be ballers. Where are we now with that?
You and I, are just in general.
Just in general, I know where we are.
Yeah, you know where we are. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they told me, we had a funeral here Saturday, one of our ministers, and there were several pastors here. One of the pastors was telling me, he said, that's what I did, that's why I play golf. And he said, oh, you want to come out there with me? And I said, where? And he said, ball. I said, you still playing ball? He said, yeah. I said, once a week? He said, no. I said, once a month? He said, no. I said, well, then you're not playing. Like, come on the golf course with me. Right, come on the golf course with me. But so I think, the church is understanding that we are, you talked about the triune nature of God. Yes. We are triune as well.
Yes,
we're body, soul, and spirit.
Yes.
And too many Christians are heaven bound, and they're going to get there a little early if they don't take care of their bodies.
Yeah.
They're going to get there a little early.
Oh, the body is the temple.
It's a temple. It's all God has to work with.
That's right. That's right. Well, your vision, for the future of the city of refuge, for Columbus, because you're not going anywhere, nowhere soon, Lord willing.
Yes, sir.
And just your vision for our community.
Yeah, it's a great question. I love this city. I'm from New York. I'm an East Coast kind of guy, big city.
But you had to stop in Warren.
Had stopped in Warren. That was preparation for Columbus. I love Columbus. I really believe this is a city of major import and impact, and that God can do is doing something. And some great churches are in Central Ohio.
Yes, they are.
Black and white, multicultural. I mean, there's some great churches in this area. If I have a vision for our area, the county, the city, it would be, first of all, that the Church of Columbus, the Church of Central Ohio, will continue to give leadership, servant leadership, modeling Christ to the culture. The second thing I would envision is that we become a city that is truly integritous in every way. And one of the ways I think we do that is we have to make sure the center city is not forgotten.
Can't.
We can't. Man, we just can't. We have to make sure that we're feeding back to the center city, and we're building up the school system, and we're building up the healthcare system. I think, and I hope nobody gets offended by this, I think Nationwide Children's Hospital is one of the greatest institutions in this city, the good that they do. And there's so many other institutions like unto that. And we've got to just continue to make sure that, in the words of Jesse Jackson, Reverend Jesse Jackson, the last, the least, the lowest are not forgotten.
Yes.
That's, to me, I think that's not just the call of the church, it's the call of the city as well.
Well, I have a vision of a pastor's roundtable where we can bring them together, the best minds, and have that conversation so we can have some outcomes.
Yeah. In fact, it's interesting you said, we do have, we meet once a year. It's called Pastors of Large Churches Roundtable. And it's black and white pastors of some of our larger churches in the area. And we meet for a day and just talk and dream and pray and sometimes disagree, But it's because we believe to whom much is given, much is required. God has given us influence. We want to use that wisely.
Pastor, Bishop, thank you so much.
Man, I love you, buddy.
Love you
Always
too.
good to see you.
Thank
And listen, I don't care what they say, we still look good. Hey.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.